Every time you paper trade, you nail everything perfectly. But the second that there's money involved, it seems like no trades go your way. You do nothing but fail, and there is always something that's standing in your way. If this is something you deal with as a day trader, you are like 90% of other traders out there, and this is not a problem of technical analysis. This is actually a problem of advanced mental analysis, and that's what we're tackling today. How to overcome that line where it seems like every time you're trading fake trades, it's perfect, but every time you put money on the charts or money on your trade, for some reason, it just doesn't work out. All right, when we think about mental analysis with day trading, we often think about things like, hey, how do we control our emotions, or just stay cool, just stay calm, et cetera, et cetera. But there's kind of two different forms of mental analysis that I like to think about when we can think about day trading and how to become better. I have a lot of training on mental analysis in day trading, but this one's going to be very different than my typical content. This is a test that I go through with my more advanced users who I've been mentoring, and I wanted to share that with everybody today to kind of show you that there's a different way to look at mental analysis. And I'm going to kind of separate mental analysis right now into two separate categories. Category one is going to be your very surface level mental analysis. Now, this isn't to say surface level is a bad form of mental analysis, or it is not to say that the surface level mental analysis is a more immature form or a less valuable form. It is just different. This form of mental analysis I'm talking about is things like, hey, make sure your environment is good, which means your desk is clean, which means you'll have like a 5-minute hit of, oh, I'm in a great space and now I can trade greatly. And, you know, my environmental factors are increased. Or if I do breathing exercises, I can stay calm and think better. Or if I just stay cool during my trades and I don't get negative and do self-talk, I'm going to be better equipped to become a better trader. And while this is very much a surface level version of mental analysis, what we're talking about today is the deep performance mental analysis enhancements that we can do to make ourselves better traders. So I typically reserve this for mentorship, this form of mental analysis, because it's very personalized one-on-one, and it is not something that you can just read a passage or give people a quick little hit, say like, oh, just do this and, you know, these results will come to fruition. We have an overabundance of information like that on Instagram and TikTok, and breathing exercise and things like that. And those are, while those may all be good forms of keeping your emotional ranges intact on a day-to-day basis, they don't actually tackle the part of our mind that stops us from increasing our mental analysis journey. So we're talking about now performance hacking the mind. And that's what we're talking about today. This is one of the very many forms of mental analysis that I want to share with my community that I do in mentorship with some of my more advanced students. And if you've been with me for a while and I say, okay, you understand your technicals, but now let's hack your mind and understand where you're making these mistakes. So that's what we're doing today. And it's called a perfectionist quiz. So we're going to go through this exercise together. I'm going to do my best. If you want more information on perfectionist quiz, I'm going to give you a book recommendation as your first resource. As your second resource, you're always welcome to book a mentorship with me, a one-on-one mentorship with me, where I can help guide you through this and do more of a deeper session, analyzing your results, your own personal results, not only in a deeper session, but also seeing how you can become better. And for this reason, it's why I don't talk about it in public too much, because you can't give somebody a tool and say, hey, you have to self-diagnose. Well, they simply don't know how. So the idea of this is to help people be able to self-diagnose. And if you need more help, there's always my mentorship where you can sign up for one lesson, or you can go on my Patreon. I have different forms of mentorship. I have one where you can just book one session with me at a time, as often or as little as you need it, or you can join a regular mentorship program on my Patreon. So I'm going to get into that now. And let's discuss a little bit of a different way to look at mental analysis, the more advanced form of diagnosing your mind and kind of hacking your brain to make you have better results. So let's first discuss how this would affect your day trading and what it looks like on the charts when you start getting into advanced mental analysis. Okay. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a test together. It's a quiz. It's a multi-question quiz, and it's going to give you some different information about your mind. We'll get into that. But what that's going to do is it's going to help you understand how you mark charts and how you see failure points in the charts marking. For example, I often see in mentorship where people have their left brain crashing into their right brain. And, these are people who are great traders. They know all the information. If I ask them to show me the float level, the targeted, the inverse combo with rejection as a target off of the failed range trend break, they would instantly be like, oh, I get it. Bang, 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 bang. And they instantly understand what I'm telling them, and they mark everything perfectly, and they're accurate, and they do it within 60 seconds. And I'm like, Not bad. That's pretty decent. You did a good job. How the hell why did you fail the trade? Like, what happened up top that made you fail this trade? And I think this is a very common occurrence between traders. I think this looks like sometimes imposter syndrome. This looks like sometimes doubting your skills or knowing you're better on the charts, but not being able to execute the trades properly. So say if you paper trade and you are able to nail every single trade in paper trading, but then the second there's real money involved, which I think this is the case for most traders, actually, the second that real money is involved, all of a sudden you're failing your trades and you are not able to make any money, but you're very good at losing money. Unless you're paper trading, because when you paper trade, you're just like a god of traders. This is commonly what happens to most traders who are failing in trading. It's not actually a barrier of it's not actually a barrier of technical analysis, but rather a barrier in mental analysis. Because look, the science is very simple. It's ABC, it's black and white. And I don't want to diminish the amount of work it takes to understand the science. The science is simple. It's not easy. There's a very big definition between something being simple in life and something being easy. Simple is when we have like my day trading sciences and we know the exact rules. As long as we apply them, it's very easy to mark the levels. You know what a break level is? It's 2 candles. So go mark 2 candles. You know what a hold level is? It's the body of a candle of the inverse color. So go mark the body. These are very simple things we do, these are very easy things to do. That doesn't make them simple because our mind gets in the way to stop them from being so simple. And we are our own worst enemies, right? So that's what it looks like on the charts. It looks like the ability to mark levels, but fail. It looks like day trading with real money sucks, but with paper money, it's awesome. It always looks like this. It looks like you mark levels and you're always right. But the second you manage to put an order there, for some reason, you fail the trade every single time, right? So that's what it looks like on the chart. So now let's get into what we can do about that. So today we're going to be doing what's called a perfectionist test to help us overcome some of these mental analysis barriers. Now, this is the book by Catherine Morgan Schaffer, and it is called The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control. This is the school of thought that this comes from, and I have the special ability, and I've been able to do mental analysis and day trading for long enough that I'm able to take these values and apply them to day trading. And you're going to be quite shocked at what this looks like long term as we kind of go through this lesson. So let's just talk about this book for a second. If you want to know more about this school of thought, if you want to increase your mental analysis even more, go and get this book. Read it. It's a big read, and that's okay. Or get the audiobook, whichever you prefer. Check out this book, finish it, and you'll have a better grasp on the things we're talking about. So that's the first thing we're going to be looking at here is The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control as your own personal resource. Now, what we're going to do together is take this quiz. It's called Get Your Perfectionist Profile. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you one of 5 archetypes, a split. You might just get one archetype. You might get all 5 archetypes. You won't know until you take the test. But what it's going to do is it's going to give you your personality and perfectionist archetype list. Now, when we think about the word perfectionist, we shouldn't think of this as, oh, I'm not a perfectionist or I am a perfectionist. No, perfectionist is just another way of saying, how does our mind reach goals? We all have goals in life. We all reach them, and we all have a perfectionist profile. The reason it's called perfectionist profile is because it ties to the book, and the book is all about being a perfectionist and how to overcome that. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the website here. It's called perfectionistguide.com/quiz, or you could just simply Google the Perfectionist Guide quiz, or you can just look in the comments section or the video description section, and I'll link this for everybody so that everybody can see where to take this test. And it's quite simple. You're just going to go, you're going to hit take this quiz. And what you're going to do is you are going to answer these questions. Now, I want everybody to take them extremely seriously. Don't rush this. It's only 7 questions. If it takes you an hour to complete, and some students I work with, it does take them an hour to complete because I'm telling them, I want you to answer this perfectly accurately to the best of your ability, looking at yourself and read everything so that you don't make any mistakes, because some questions are asking what others think about you. Some questions are asking what you think about yourself. And it's really important to realize that difference. So I'm just going to read the first question. We're not going to actually go through the quiz because that would kind of defeat the purpose, as you would see what I answered. But what we are going to do is we're going to talk about the first question here just briefly, and then we're going to move on to some test results and how to use this information to your advantage. So the first question here is, have you ever displayed an angry outburst at work, such as shouting, banging your desk, or slamming doors? Now, read the question, understand exactly what it's asking you, and then go through these one by one to see which one applies to you. Now, I've had some students not sure which ones to answer, which one is them. Sometimes they're like, oh, well, none of these really apply to me, or there's more than one, and I don't really know. It could be B, it could be D. So the best thing you can do in this case is you look at these answers and you have one that you would pick a stoutly without any doubt in your mind. You're like, yep, that's the one. That's 100% me. If you're not sure, start reading them and taking away the answers that aren't you. You'll be left with 2 or 3 answers, and then read it to your best ability to say, okay, okay, this is, I guess, is the most like me, but so is this one, but which one is more, right? Like, let's just answer one. I'm not even going to read these. I'm just going to pick a random one. And then let's look at the next one here. Which of the below is most likely to bother you? Observing that people around you aren't performing at the highest possible standard, going on vacation with no itinerary, when you know somebody who doesn't like you, you've decided you want to paint your living room, you're given a color wheel of 50 paint options and told you need to pick a color within the next 10 minutes, being told you can only focus on one goal for the next 6 months. So this question, I've had a lot of people say, like, I'm not really sure. I don't understand what this one means. And so you have to do your best job to decipher also what it's saying. So let's use this one, for example. It's a little long-winded and oddly put, but that's okay. It's there for a purpose. You've decided you want to paint your living room. You're given a color wheel of 50 paint options, and you're told you need to pick a color within the next 10 minutes. So if someone was like, oh, I don't really understand this question, I would simply rephrase that question to something along the lines of this. You're at work, you're given 10 different options to complete a task, but you're told that you need to know the answer now. Does this bother you? So like the idea of there's too many decisions, but you've got to make a decision. So the pressure is on. Like, does that idea or that situation bother you, right? So sometimes these questions, you have to kind of morph the interpretation of them a little bit to just understand what they're really asking you. Because this is asking you about how do you deal with pressure when given too many options. You're told in the next 10 minutes. So what can we identify? There's a time constraint. Number one, we have a time constraint on our answers. And number two, we have too many options that we know what to pick from. And this may be something we're unsure of to begin with, because maybe painting our living room, well, we're not interior designers. So I don't know what color looks the best. You're giving me too many options and you're telling me to do it right away. So just deciphering that, it's all about understanding I have too many options in front of me and I have to make a decision now. Does this affect you? Does this bother you? Yeah, a little bit. But when someone doesn't like me, that bothers me even more. Okay, well then you know your answer is C. And if you're not sure about any of them, start taking away results. Going on vacation with no itinerary. Nah, I'm a pretty dynamic person. That doesn't bother me. Observing people around you aren't performing at the highest standards. That kind of bothers me. So I'll leave that one in. When someone doesn't like you, yeah, I don't care if people like me or not. So not those two. Being told you can only focus on one goal for the next 6 months. Yeah, that bothers me. Options of paint colors in the next 15 minutes. No, that doesn't bother me. So now I'm between D, or wait, A, B, C, D, E. Sorry. I'm between E and A. So people aren't performing or being told to only focus on one thing in the next 6 months. Probably being told to focus on only one thing for the next 6 months would bother me more. I really don't like that. I'm a pretty dynamic person and I like to goal set. When people perform at the high standards, it bothered me, but it would really bother me if I could only do one thing. So that's kind of how you have to kind of, sometimes reduce these answers, and you have to take your time and really answer them properly to get a true set of results. So with that said, let's go and look at some results from myself and other students and talk about what it means. And so here are my test results. I got intense, messy, perfectionist. So this is what Cotton Candy TA is. I'm A-okay with sharing my results, and I don't want anybody out there thinking, hey, Cotton's a great trader. I need to do what I can to become intense and messy as well. No. This is the way my brain works. This is the way it has always processed from zero. And this is the way that works for me and my strengths. Everybody will have their own set of strengths, and it's not about trying to fit yourself into the perfect scenario. More so, it's about understanding how your mind interprets information and data. So you are going to have a couple different schools of thought here. It's kind of like left brain, right brain, if you would. Intense, messy is one school of thought, or left brain, right brain. And the other side to left brain, right brain would be classic procrastinator. So if you get classic procrastinator, that is equal to intense, messy, because that's the other side of the brain. One is left, one is right. But when you have kind of these, both of these results mixed together, they are sitting there and they're crashing into each other. Like intense is crashing into classic, and it causes kind of this a false positive in your mind, or causes these errors for you to have different ways in which you are supposed to play to your strengths, but you're unable to because you have too many different mixed results. And then there's Parisian, and Parisian is an external factor. So these are internal factors as left brain, right brain, as to where Parisian is more of an external factor. So you have external, internal, and you have left brain, right brain. Intense, messy, and classic procrastinator are internal, left brain, right brain. And then internal to external would be these two groupings as internal, and the external would be Parisian. And Parisians are people pleasers, they're et cetera, et cetera. So this is kind of an overview of like what this all means. And everybody's going to get different test results. And we need to understand how we can play to our own internal strengths, because we can't force our minds to think differently. It's the way we have thought genetically from zero. Right? So let's talk about what all of these mean. Now, when you have intense perfectionists are those who will sacrifice everything at all costs. No matter what, they will get it done. If they have to sacrifice their entire life to find the goal, they'll get it done. A good example of this is, tell me there's a treasure buried in a forest. Say the forest is over there. I have the treasure map, but you're not going to get it. The intense perfectionist is going to say, I don't care the cost. I'm going to find this goddamn treasure. They're going to go and dig a million holes and they're not going to stop until they find it. Will they find it? Yeah, they're going to find that treasure. That's the intense archetype. They will stop at nothing to get the final results. Okay, so that is your intense perfectionist. It doesn't matter if you give them the map, they will still find it. All you're doing is delaying their inevitability. The problem with this is that the intense perfectionists, because they all have pros and cons, the problem with the intense perfectionists is they get stuck. They get stuck on one thing and cannot move on until they solve the puzzle, right? Your messy perfectionists are kind of like squirrels, all over the place, like a squirrel putting nuts in every single different tree, getting ready for winter. They got 100 trees they've scattered nuts in, and they've put them in this tree and that tree and this tree and that tree, and they're all over the place, but they've got it all figured it out, and they've got a thousand things everywhere, but they know exactly where everything is. They're messy. These are your mad scientists of the world. These are your best creatives. These are like the shooting star effect. The messy perfectionist is the people who are able to create magic out of nothing. They are life's gift. They are the people who they lack focus, but they know the perfect controlled chaos of everything around them. They are chaotic by nature, but they make the best forms of magic happen. And where they struggle is on focus, right? They struggle focusing in and drilling down on things, right? So like you can think of intense and messy kind of as the same school of thought here in the way the mind works, because intense, messy perfectionists, and probably why I was able to figure out day trading so well, is not only do I have a photographic memory, like we talk about reverse engineering day trading charts, not only do I have a photographic memory where I hold things in containers, but I don't give up because I'm an extremely intense person who refuses to give up until they die and they won't move on. So I figure things out no matter the cost. And I've got 1,000 things everywhere, right? So like if you ever think of watching my streams, I have lines everywhere. I have trends here, I have trends there. I have 10 1-hour levels. I have 15-minute levels everywhere. I have 4-hour levels everywhere. And it's intense. I got levels all over the place. And then when you zoom out on my charts, it just looks like this. And I'm like, I actually did house cleaning on my charts. So this is perfectly fine. This is what it looks like. And you're like, you can't even tell what the prices are, dude. Like, what are you doing? And so like what it looks like, if you've ever seen me stream, sometimes I've got, these are my hourly levels, and I got one there, and I got one here, and I've got, one up here, and I got one there, and I got one here. And it's like, what hourly level are you buying, Cotton? It's like, don't worry about it. I know exactly which one I'm buying. They're all there for a reason. They all have a purpose. Shut up. Like, these are my levels. And I know, I'm like, this is your messy perfectionist. And then you add the 15-minute levels, and it's like, okay, now I got 15-minute levels here, and I got one here, and I got one here. And none of them are actually useful. Exactly one of them are useful, but we refuse to move them off of our charts. We need them everywhere. We know exactly which ones are failing and not failing. And then when you zoom in, you're like, yeah, I'm going to buy one of the 15-minute or hourly levels. And it's like, I know exactly which one I'm buying, and I know 95% of them are useless, and I know exactly which ones are useless, but I leave them on my chart because that's how I operate the best. So you'll see me stream sometimes and you'll see this. And then I zoom out and my charts look like this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm buying the 15-minute level. And then people are like, what do you mean the 15-minute level? They're all over the place, Christ's sakes. And it's like, well, that's for me to know and for you not to worry about, because as a messy perfectionist who's an intense personality archetype, I have every single thing and I won't give up, and I've got 1,000 nuts scattered all over the place. I got levels everywhere, and I know exactly which ones are working and why they're working, but I refuse to remove them, because once upon a time in the future I might need to know that this level was tested here, and this is the messy perfectionist, right? So this is who Cotton Candy is. This is what I do, and this is the messy intense perfectionist, and this is what works for me. If I don't have enough lines on my screen, I start making mistakes, right? So that's just the way it is with messy intense perfectionists. This is how we are. So you can see how the messy perfectionist, the school of thought is going to be very much that we have exactly what we want on our charts and we're all over the place. Okay. So this is intense and messy and what those mean. Let's move on to somebody else's results here. Let's move on to somebody who got procrastinator and classic. I think I like this one a little more here for this example. Classic procrastinator. And I have the third result hidden here, but you can see if I just move the screen over, it's intense. So I can zoom out. If I keep zooming out, though, it's not really going to show us. So I don't want to zoom out too much. It's going to be, let's just move the screen over. That's the way we're going to do this. Okay. So they got classic and procrastinator. And remember, at any time, you could just click this more details button and it will give you an explanation of what they are. And then you can cross-reference that with what we say. So your classic perfectionists are the people who need to have absolutely everything make perfect sense at all times. They have a box and they need to fit as much into that box as possible. Think of this as someone who, think of if you ever packed on a trip. Okay. If you pack and okay, I'm going to get a little kickback on this, because if you're packing, you should be packing properly, which means you should be optimizing space and folding clothes and putting things properly away, perfectly to maximize space. And I get that. And that's fine. I agree. But let's just pretend for a second that the classic perfectionist has a suitcase, and everything has a perfect place, and they'll rearrange it over and over and over until everything fits exactly in place. They have a box and they put as much in that box as they can to make sense, but they never move outside that box. So the classic perfectionist excels in having kind of levels on the charts all the time. And we'll go through examples on the charts of this for all these archetypes, right? So your classic perfectionist kind of accelerates at having the ability to drill down to the exact perfect levels and think and only use exactly what's necessary. They're the kind of people who, if they have a cell phone, well, this isn't a cell phone, but it's kind of the same shape, so let's pretend it is. They have a cell phone, they put it down on the table, and if it's slightly off in terms of the table angles, they will adjust their phone until it's perpendicular to the horizontal and vertical line. So they put their cell phone down on a table, but then it bothers them. And then they have to just slightly adjust it. They put their cell phone down and they're sitting there and it bothers them. And they just have to go and slightly tweak it until it's like perfectly aligned. This is your classic perfectionist. Things need to be like perfect for them. These are people who are like great scientists, great biochemists. No, let's talk about the procrastinator, for example, for a second here. The procrastinator is often misconstrued. And I really like this one because, you often hear the term procrastinator in life and you think lazy, but this is not true. Procrastinators aren't actually lazy people. I think often they get mislabeled. They used to sit there and say, okay, well, procrastinator is somebody who's lazy. They're actually not lazy. Procrastinators are somebody who has 5 or 6 or 7 things on the table and they just constantly adjust them. And they'll sit there and they'll adjust and they'll think and they'll look at it and they're like, okay, this is good, but I think I can make it better. And then they move them around again. And they're not all over the place like messy perfectionists. Messy perfectionists are all over the place. They don't care what things are. They got this there, that there, and they're dynamic, right? But your procrastinator, they're the opposite, right? They're the opposite. They are the people who will sit there and they'll adjust things and they'll look at them and they'll just sit there and they'll think, is this what I want it to look like? Let's adjust it again. And so often this gets confused as lazy because it's like, dude, make a fucking decision already, man. Like, stop, dude. Don't be lazy, man. Make a decision. But it's not that they're lazy. It's that they like to double check their work. So now this is somebody's results that got sent to me. And I want you to think for a second about somebody who's classic and procrastinator together. So these are the people who would make great scientists, great biochemical engineers, great people who would make spaceships, people who are tasked with great things in life, but have to have such an extreme accuracy that if they make a mistake, it all's crumbling down. And then exactly, think about that for a second. Procrastinator sits there and thinks, and they're just like, okay, well, I got to make sure this is right and that's right and this is right. Well, I'm building a spaceship, so the right wing, it's got to be just the right weight. It's not yet, so let's try this material, let's try that material, let's adjust this, let's move it like a degree to the left. Is that going to do anything? And they just sit there and then the classic is like, okay, let's fit everything perfectly into the box as much as we can. So you can see where like somebody who procrastinates with everything that fits perfectly, everything fits perfectly in the box for the classic, and the procrastinator sits there and adjusts all the perfect things in the box. Well, you can see why this would be one left or right brain, and this would completely crash into the other side, right? It's completely opposite to the intense that won't stop until they die. The intense is the opposite of this. The intense is, I'm going to keep going until it doesn't matter. I'm just going to keep drilling down. The classic has to have those things fit in a box. The intense drills down on one thing, no matter how far they have to go. And that's two brains crashing into each other. And the procrastinator is working with the perfect little pieces to make sure they do all the right little tweaks and adjustments, while the messy perfectionists all over the place, creating magic, bang, bang, here, there. They created Thomas Edison. He created light. He put Nikola Tesla or whatever. Anyways, doesn't matter. He put a lightning stick up into the air and he got struck a lightning and he captured in a bottle. And this is crazy, dude. You're all over the place. What are you trying to do, man? And like this, but this is your messy perfectionist. And you can see where these two things, they would crash into each other because they're just such wildly different schools of thought and how they would play out. So you can see why classic procrastinator fits on one side of the mind, messy intense fits on the other side. So now you start getting into like the battles. Let's look at another test result here. This person has, let's just put it back in the middle of the screen here. This person, what did they get? They got messy, they got intense, they got procrastinator. Oh, they got a new one here, Parisian. Now, Parisian perfectionists we haven't tackled yet. It's the fifth archetype. What is Parisian perfectionists? Well, Parisian perfectionists are people pleasers. They are the people who reflect emotions in life. They are mirrors to others. They are people pleasers. They are people pleasers, and it is simple as that. They like to please others in the grand scheme of things. So let's put Parisian on hold here for a second and just talk about this. You know, somebody who's messy, intense, but also procrastinator. Can you now see where the problem lies in the way this person thinks? I can. You've got messy and procrastinator, back-ended off intense. So you're drilling down on trying to work all over the place while trying to adjust the things. Like it's just brain crashing into brain, thought wave crashing into thought wave. And this creates kind of like a unstable result. So this is really where we need to think about, what does it mean when we get these different results? Like now that we understand the archetypes, how do we analyze that? What is, now that they make sense, how do we analyze that? So before we go into analyzing that, I kind of want to give some examples that I get in mentorship so that you can kind of see how powerful this is and, you know, what it means. And let's go with Parisian, because we didn't give any Parisian any love here. So let's go with Parisian for a second here. Parisian is a people pleaser. They are somebody who, and if you're a Parisian perfectionist, I think this will resonate with you very well. Most Parisian perfectionists, depending on the percentage you get, like if you got, you know, 70% Parisian or like 50%, 60% Parisian, like I think this will resonate with you very well. Like a Parisian perfectionist is somebody who's a people pleaser, which means they reflect the emotions of other people. They go out into a social environment and they absorb, whether this is consciously or subconsciously, they absorb the emotions of everybody around them. So like they want to make sure the room is happy, the room is flowing at all times. They are the people who always are agreeing. So if you're a Parisian perfectionist, you'll find yourself nodding your head and agreeing with people a lot. Yeah. You don't want to have a counterpoint to them. You kind of go, yeah. You're also the kind of person who your social battery is low, and you're always probably wondering in your life, hey, why is my social battery low? And what does that mean? That means you go out for, you know, a couple hours at night and you're ready to go home. You know, you don't like staying out too late. You like being with friends for a certain amount of time before your social battery is drained and you need to recharge. You're the kind of person who hits a wall at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You need a coffee to take the next step. You are people pleasing constantly, which is draining your energy every day. And you don't even realize you're doing this. Now, this is not a bad thing, but we need to play to your strengths. So people pleasers, when we think about day trading, the Parisian and the procrastinator have a really interesting kind of effect on the charts, right? So we'll talk about procrastinator in a little bit more, but you know, almost think of yourself Parisian. If things don't start to make sense on your chart, you kind of lock up. So like your Parisian perfectionists are going to look at your charts and you're going to see how you lock up in the moment. And if it's not exactly what you think it's going to be, you always kind of have a justification as to why. So like say you mark this level here. I'm just going to pick the first level on my screen here. You mark this level. It's a, you know, a hold level here, and did it hit? And if it doesn't hit, you're kind of like, oh, well, oh, sorry, this is the hold level. Well, that one hit. Let's pick one that didn't hit. So let's go here up to this hold level. Okay, can the science not be so accurate, please? Let's try something on the bottom. Okay, here we go. Here's a hold level right here. This is a good one. All of a sudden, you know, it's almost like you need validation from the charts. So like you can't make decisions. You get kind of paralyzed in the moment. You get kind of like, oh, it went beyond my level. I'm a little confused here. Right? You're on this constant chase to make things make too much sense. And when they don't make sense, you kind of get paralyzed a little bit. So if you rank too high in Parisian, this is the things that you face. You face the charts needing to be perfectly explained back to you because you only get validation when the mirror makes sense. It's just how it's almost the exact same way in that where you can go out for 2 hours. And sometimes if you're with somebody who you're really close to, so for example, you have a significant other that you have a really great connection with, you could spend all day and all night with your significant other and you're just like the happiest person. And you don't understand why that when you go out with your friends for 2 hours, your social battery gets drained because you are absorbing externally like a mirror. You are absorbing your friends or your social encounters, whatever those are. You're absorbing those emotions because you are a people pleaser. So you're always gauging internally. Now, this could be subconsciously or consciously. It depends how much self-work you've done. If you've done a ton of self-work, you'll realize it's about yourself. But this is why it happens. You haven't done that self-work to know who you are. This is going to happen at a subconscious level for you. And your social battery will drain very fast. You go out for an hour or two, you're ready to go home and you don't know why. But the second you get in the car, you're like, whew, man, I feel so much better. Let me just get a coffee and we're good to go for the rest of the day, you know? And then people say, oh, it's introvert, extrovert. And that is a part of this too, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. But introverts, they get their energy from their personal solitude, as to where extroverts get their energy from dynamic solitudes, right? So then this is also another thing that comes to play. But the Parisian at its core, the Peruvian or the Parisian at its core, they will people please and it takes their energy. So when you look at the charts, if you're a Parisian type, if things aren't making sense, they're taking your energy. So you have to be able to disconnect and disengage from that, because that is one of the great powers of mental analysis, is the ability to disengage. This is a problem that artists have. So you're going to meet and see artists who make the great painting and they want to live beyond their art because they don't know how to disconnect emotionally. So they make a pain piece and they make another pain piece and they make another pain piece. And then all their artwork starts to look the same. Well, this is because they haven't been able to disconnect from pain. And this is something that many people struggle with, disconnecting from emotions. So what grief looks like, disconnecting from grief. We shouldn't look for closure. There's no such thing as closure in life. All you are trying to do is justify personally that you are able to disconnect at that point because you've gotten closure. No, this is a choice we make. We get closure from breakups, from failed money, from bad decisions, etc. We get closure when we can accept realities. Closure doesn't exist. Closure is a fallacy that we create in our mind. There's actually no such thing as closure. And in the book, Catherine Morgan talks about this. So you can go and learn more about closure and all those things in the book. And that's why I said at the beginning of this video, it's important that you read this book so you can kind of keep up with what I'm saying. And if not, you finish this video, go get the book, read it, come back, watch it again. You'll be good. You'll be fine. Okay. So this is the thing, that if you are of the Parisian type, you need to learn how to disconnect so that your energy isn't being drained from these charts when things don't perfectly line up. Your messy perfectionist is very different than this. You know what your messy perfectionist is going to do? They're going to go, oh, okay, we got a 5-minute level. Okay, let's mark that orange. We got to make sure we do this properly. We got an orange level here. Okay. Also, we have a range trend right here. Where's my trend? Where's my trend? Oh God, I'm wasting time. Oh no, here's my trend right here. Okay, we got our trend here. This is a 3-minute trend. Okay, let's mark that as a 3-minute trend. Now, I don't know if this is accurate or not. I'm just going through the motions here. You got a 3-minute trend. Where's a 1-minute combo level? Okay, 1-minute level. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Okay, we got a level here. Good, perfect. Got a level here. Bingo, bang, done, easy peasy. Yes, 1 minute. Okay. Also, what else do we have? Okay. Keep going. We haven't seen enough yet. We have a break level here. So we got a 1-minute break level, which is a 3-minute level. We got another 1-minute break level down here. That's cool. That's good. We also have a 1-minute trend. Okay, where's the 1-minute trend? We got the 1-minute trend right here. Yeah, we got the 1-minute trend. I got a 1-minute trend right here. That's good. We got this trend right here. It broke the trend. It's now going to make another trend. So let's make another trend here. You got this trend here. You got this here to here. That broke there. So you got all these 1-minute trends. Let's go back to the 5-minute charts. Okay, we got a 15-minute break level right here. That just got created. 15-minute break level. Cool. This is the messy perfection. They got levels everywhere. They got things going on all over the place. You got a break level turn into an origin in the future. What else do we have back here? Hey, did we combo the 5-minute level here? Oh, 5-minute level marked wrong. Got a break right here. Let's mark that. Got a break level. Cool. Done. Good. Oh, we got a 5-minute hold. A reverse level. Good. Doesn't hit. Okay, cool. And you can go on and on and on as a you can go on and on and on as a messy perfectionist. And this makes sense and it's all good. And you're just like, well, of course I was going to target the 1-minute level. It's right in the middle of the screen, you idiots. And then nobody else knows what's going on. But this is where messy perfectionists operate with their energy, because when there's not enough levels, like start taking some of this stuff away for a messy perfectionist. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have enough levels on my screen. For Christ's sakes, how could I know what's going on? I have no levels, right? But the classic perfectionist would look at this and they would say, hit a 5-minute level. I need to hold this 5-minute level. Do I have a 3-minute combo? Nope. Do I have a 1-minute combo? Yep. Right there. I can delete this 5. I don't need this trend. I know that I need to hold exactly this level and I need to hit that 1-minute combo. It's going to be my greediest trade. And here's my 5-minute. So I know I have to hit this 5, not hard close this, deep dive this one, go up, then hold the backside 5-minute in the future to continue moving up. This is perfect. So I'm going to buy exactly this 1-minute level. And this is your classic perfectionist. They're very good at being very accurate, but they will miss things. They will miss things on the chart. So they won't have all of the crazy levels that the messy perfectionists have. But the messy perfectionist needs help from the intense perfectionist, because the intense perfectionist drills down on the messy. Classic can't drill down on messy. You have a million levels everywhere. That's where intense comes in, because it's like, oh, I know it's there somewhere. Think about the treasure map story I told you about, the treasure in the forest. And there's a treasure out there in that forest, and I don't know where it is, but I know it's there. So if you give me a shovel, I'm going to find that goddamn thing. This is a messy and intense where they work so well together, because the messy's got everything everywhere. And then the intense is like, well, I know it's there. I know the perfect levels in there. I just have to keep keep drilling down until I figure it out. Now you're starting to see where, like, if you're a classic, what you do, if you're a Parisian, what you do, if you're intense, what you do, if you're messy, what you do. Now let's go back and look at my quiz results for a second. Intense, messy. Oh, well, I make a perfectly well thought out trader. And if you've ever watched my Twitch streams, You're going to see a dozen levels everywhere. You're going to see me going a million miles a minute, talking about absolutely everything, drilling down to find the perfect levels. And for some reason, I always strike magic as the messy perfectionist who's intensively drilled down on the only best spot to buy. And you'll see me nail trades almost to the cent on 100x trading with a million levels on my screen and all these decisions, canceling, putting up orders, moving them around. I'm all over the place. But this is why it works so well for me, because I play into my strengths and I understand exactly where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to do. So when you start thinking about all of these archetypes and how they work together, it's starting to paint a clear picture of, wow, this makes sense why if I see Cotton trading or someone else trading, why they might have too many levels. I'm a classic procrastinator. This is too much. It confuses me, right? So this could be anything from confusion because you see too many levels on other people's screens, not seeing enough levels, wondering why people are so lazy and not doing enough work. It kind of fills in all the blanks as to like why one person might do one set of actions versus another person doing another set of actions. And it also starts to explain how you are in life as a human being, how like, this is a great test, by the way, to do with your significant other, your wife, your husband, your children, your family, your friends. And all of a sudden, like, let's use me, for example, I'm intense, messy. I'm just going to pick a random figure in my life with a random set of results. My mother's classic procrastinator, and why I would clash with her and why we can only have a long distance phone relationship, because put us in person and she's sitting there trying to make decisions. I'm like, come on, let's go. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to go. We got to get coffee. We got to go to get the food. We got to go buy the presents, and we got to be back so we can do the workouts. And then we got to do the movie night. And they're sitting there like, I don't know what order we should do that in. Maybe we should get food before coffee. I don't know. No. And then I'm sitting there freaking out like, dude, let's go, man. We could already have the coffee. I could be juicing right now. So like now you can start to see where these archetypes, they clash with each other. They work against each other. They work with each other. It's a really fun test to take with people. And when you get really good and really perceptive of this stuff and you really start to understand what this all means, then you can start analyzing people and you're like, procrastinator, perfectionist. So now you know what to watch out for. Now you know how they'll trigger you. Now you know how not to get triggered. And then you're at a party and you're like, I can see they're nodding yes to a lot. They must be Parisian perfectionists, and jokes on them. They're getting tired. I know they're about to leave. Hey, Johnny, let's do a bet. I bet you $10. Jessica's about to leave in 5 minutes. I know, because I can see her fucking social battery draining. You know what I mean? So like it gives you this great tool in life. And also when we understand how we think, we now know where we struggle in the charts, right? So now we can kind of start connecting those things. So this is my results and kind of like some overviews of what it looks like on the charts and you know what these pieces look like. And let's talk about the procrastinator, because that's one we didn't talk about. We talked about the classic and how they do things to perfection, and they only have a couple levels on the chart. So if you are a classic perfectionist, I want you to realize that you should only have a few levels on your charts, and you need to make the perfect decisions with the levels that you have on your screen, and you're going for accuracy without too many levels. If you are intense, you need to actually drill down into more things on your screen. So you need to actually drill down into saying like, oh, I need more levels to find the right level. If you are messy, you need more and more and more on your screen. If you're a procrastinator, you need less and less and less on your screen. So now we're operating in the gauge of, do I have more levels or do I have less levels on my screen? Well, if you need less levels on your screen, you need to you're a classic type. So if your results were classic, you need to work with less levels to make better decisions. If you got the messy type, you need more levels on your screen. If you got the intense type, you need to drill down on one set of results. If you got the procrastinator type, you need a couple different things to work with to start being malleable on your screen to move them all over the place. So now you can see as a gauge of left to right, up and down, classic, messy, intense procrastinator. Where are you in your results and what do you need to do? And if you're a Parisian, well, now you know that you're going to have a loss of energy if the charts don't make perfect sense. So you need to take Parisian and mix that with the other thing. So did you or did you not get Parisian? If you got Parisian, you need to not let things like deep dives, knife catches, things that don't make perfect sense on the chart. You need to not let those kind of make those faults in your mind. You need to not let that cause confusion, pain, sorrow, fear, anger, emotions. We need to take Parisian and we need to disengage from the emotions that it gives us. So now, do you emotionally get infected or affected, infected or affected? Two different things. Infected means it's intrusive, it's an invasive. Affected means that it is having an effect on your mental state. Infected or affected. If you got Parisian, you need to learn how to disengage, because that trigger of emotion will make you make mistakes. If you didn't get Parisian, you don't have a problem with disengaging emotionally from the charts, and you need to falter more into logic. So then you have another layer there where what do we do if we are or aren't Parisian, right? So this is a really, really powerful set of tools now that we're starting to put together. So we kind of analyzed, what it looks like for someone who's a people pleaser and what kind of personality traits they may have, what that might look like on the charts. Let's talk about procrastinator for a second. Procrastinators are great post-trade, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. Procrastinators make great comparative analysis traders, or great, you're in the trade, what do you do after? Because they work with kind of constantly adjusting things. So I'm just going to use a replayer tool here. Let's assume I got into the 1 minute level with the 5 minute, or let's use a different example completely. Let's use something else. Let's go fresh here. This is a procrastinator mindset, and this is where they will thrive. So if you got procrastinator, realize this is where you're going to thrive. If you didn't get procrastinator in your results, realize that this could be a point that's not so strong for you. Okay. So procrastinator, they need to work with exacts, and they're constantly moving things, and they need to make things make sense. So who would this type be? We got classic and procrastinator here. Okay. This is a good one. We got classic procrastinator as this person's profile. Now I've done hundreds of these with students. I've just picked a few random ones. So thankfully I picked a classic procrastinator here. So the classic procrastinator is trading, okay? Let's go back to the chart. So classic procrastinator goes and they say, okay, I need to make sure everything is exactly perfect. And okay, we hit an hourly level. We're in the trade. This is the procrastinator part of us. As soon as something doesn't make sense, we need to exit the trade. So if you are the procrastinator type, realize your weakness comes in where if something doesn't go exactly as planned, you will start to make mistakes. Now, what does that look like? Okay. Let's talk about +1, -1, some advanced cotton theory, some advanced day trading theories here. We've got +1, -1. So we hit the 4-hour level. We deep dove to the 1-hour level, the +1, -1. So we know the 4 hours attacking the 1. But then all of a sudden we moved above the 4 hours. So we actually just deep dove the 4-hour theory wise. And now because it targeted the 1, we need to start getting 15-minute levels. Okay, so if we can't gain this 15-minute level, this is +1, -1 theory. We have hit the 4. We can deep dive that to the 1, which means we can gain the 4 if the 1 holds. Can we confirm the 1 holds if the 15-minute gains? Yes or no? So this now becomes rejection as target. So as the procrastinator, we need to sit here and say, okay, we've got a plan. We need to gain this 15-minute level because we hit the 1 hour. So the +1, -1. We need to gain this 15-minute level. And if this gains, we need to gain the next 15-minute level. So let's just start marking 15-minute levels here. Backside, front side, 2 15-minute levels. The second this trade doesn't go our way, we need to get out of the trade, because this is where procrastinators will make mistakes. They need things to be perfect. Same with classic. This is classic procrastinator 101. This is how I archetype this when I have a student who does this, and what I watch for when I'm looking at their results and say, hey, you're in mentorship. What is your personality test, perfectionist test? What does that tell me about the way your mind is thinking and analyzing these results? Okay, now we know we need to gain the 15-minute level. Let's talk about what the intense messy would do. The intense messy would say, okay, it could be a rejectionist target, but it could hit the 5-minute level, and then it could deep dive the 3-minute level. The 1 minute's down here, doesn't hit the 1 minute, gets back up over the 5. Rejection target was indeed there. It created a break level right here. The 5 minute can hit that break level. It can go back. That's a 5-minute break level. It hits it twice, 2 times, 3 times. That's a 15-minute origin. Now we're just sitting here back testing. We got a trend here. If we just gained this level, this origin level, we actually gained our 15-minute level, and bang, we pop. And then bang, they pop. This is where the intense makes a lot of sense. The messy is the ability to mark all these levels and think of all these dynamic outcomes. The intense is the ability to say, okay, let's drill down and see what we can actually do with this trade. The procrastinator will make mistakes with this mock-up. They will make mistakes, and they will often, and if you're a procrastinator out there, you'll know this has happened to you. You will often come to a point where you try to justify staying a trade, but there's a point of no return. You get there, and all of a sudden you get blindsided because bam, it dumps, and you get blindsided completely. This is where procrastinators will make sense, because they can't disengage and they get blindsided, as to where the messy or the intense can see, hey, this failed. Let me get out on the back test right here before it goes and dumps down, and they can get out unscathed. Maybe even with a little bit of profits because they entered here, because this is what the intense messy is good at. The intense messy is not good at just saying, hey, this trade here happens, and it fails, let me just get out of the trade. This is not what intense messy should do. Intense messy must continuously move through the trade and work through it. Procrastinators cannot do that. They cannot sit here and make levels malleable. So this is where procrastinators, they get blindsided, but they have very good post trades if everything works out properly. Messy, intense, they never get blindsided. but they also don't get the bigger trades. So you see, everything's like balance. It's all about understanding where your strengths and weaknesses are. It's all balance. It's all balance. Understand your strengths, understand your weaknesses. So we are in the shoes of the procrastinator right now because we didn't have anything to say about the procrastinator. So that's what we're doing here. We're talking about the procrastinator. So we need to gain this 15-minute level. If we don't, we need to get out of the trade. This is where procrastinators are strong. Okay, 15-minute level. Oh, okay. Can we gain it? We hard closed above it. Okay, let's just stay in the trade. Now we need to gain this next 15-minute level or create another 15-minute level and gain that. Okay, we test the 15-minute level. Can we gain it or are we going to lose it? Oh, we gained that 15-minute level too. Sick. Okay, cool. We're still in this trade. Okay, now we need to gain this level or we should be out of the trade. This is the procrastinator. They're constantly making their charts malleable and they're constantly changing the results or to not get under this level, right? So have this level here, this 15-minute level, you got over top of it, you create a new 15-minute level. We know we need to continuously gain 15-minute levels as a procrastinator type. And if this isn't working for us, we need to get out of the trade because everything else will be a mistake. We gain this 15-minute level before losing this one. Oh, we did. Cool. We gain another 15-minute level. Okay, we're cooking. We're cooking. Cool. Now we need to hold this 15-minute level. Okay, wait a second. Let's go back and do a little bit more work here. We hit the hourly here. Is there an hourly that would stop us on top? Aha, there is. There's an hourly hold level right there. So now what we've done as the perfect procrastinator is we have created a Pandora's box from this hourly level to this hourly level. So now we can go and say, hey, we are the procrastinator. We know we hit an hourly level on the bottom and the hourly level on top will stop us. So now the 15-minute levels will decide our future and our fate. So now all of a sudden we have this 15-minute level here and this one here. Do we continue to hold this one? Or as long as we don't lose this one, the procrastinators get, this is where they're constantly adjusting things. They're constantly making sense out of what they have. Messy intents can't work like this. The messy intents must see the price move straight down. Oopsies. They must see the price move straight down. And there we go. They must see the price move straight down and go for the deep dive. There might be like a little, I would assume there's like a kind of a combo level here or some type of 5-minute origin. Let's just mark this as a 5-minute level. Let's mark that as a 5-minute level. The intense messy will go for this 5-minute level. Procrastinator cannot. They will get blindsided because what the procrastinator won't see is they won't see when this doesn't hold and they're still trying to hold and a back test right before it's about to dump and they'll think everything's chilling before you see it rip. But the classic or the messy intense, they'll see this and they'll be like, oh, we just back tested. We got to get out. Right? And they won't lose money on this trade. So your classic messy will always take advantage of this situation. Your procrastinator will get blindsided and fail, right? So we know we need to just continue holding 15-minute levels. We're procrastinator perfectionists. If second we don't hold 15-minute levels, we got to get out of the trade. 15-minute level holding. Okay, 15-minute level holding here. So this one's no longer useful. Let's just move it here, right? This one's got to hold. Oh, okay, still holding, not hard closing. It's not hard closing yet. Hey, this is looking pretty good. We haven't hard closed this 15-minute level yet. Our 15-minute from here to here is good. Procrastinators winning. This is where their strengths are. Hey, look at this. We're back up to the hourly level. Can we go? Can we move up over? Hey, let's go. Procrastinator perfectionist juiced up. Okay, this is good. Procrastinator perfectionist. How much money did they make? Look at that, 355%. They just, go and see that, you're not hitting this and, you keep rejecting some level here. You just take your profits, easy peasy, or just keep holding, whatever you think. That's up to you, not me. Let's just hit play here and see what happens next. Oh my God. How much did they make? Oh my God. 430%. Jesus. I just kind of want to see what plays out here. I have some levels marked here. Oh, wait a second. The messy intense just juiced up too. See, the messy intense will take this trade. So now if we think about where messy intense should take trades versus classic perfectionist should take trades, classic procrastinator, where they should take trades versus messy intense, you can see where each has their strength and weakness because in this scenario, your messy intense was perfectly on spot. In this scenario here, making sense of +1, -1, your classic procrastinator makes sense. So now you can see how these archetypes, they start to work with each other, against each other, towards each other. And it's so interesting when you can actually look at someone's results and analyze. And this is the point where people have to do their best to self-analyze because I want to explain something to everybody. My mother is a psychologist, psychiatrist. I have grown up in the field of mental analysis. When I was young, I used to get books on this stuff. I have spent a lifetime working on self-improvement and understanding the human mind. I have also done day trading, mental analysis, and mentorship for 8 years now. I am very well versed in this. I can put these pieces together. I know how to analyze my students. Not everybody will be at this point, but you need to work on doing your best and watch this video over and kind of just try to understand the things I talked about and work on understanding this best as possible for whatever test results you've gotten. Now, if people need help with this, I'm more than happy to do mentorship with people. I have the Patreon link where you can join mentorship, or if you just need one session with me, I have a direct link where you can just book one session with me, and I'll put those in the chat for people, because sometimes people need help with this stuff. And this is almost like, you would think of this almost as a therapy session, but I would think of this as a therapy session for day trading and helping people understand their journey and where they should go next with their test results and how to analyze that and what to make out of it, because this is a path of continued progression. So beyond that, what do we do next with this kind of test results and all this stuff? Like, what do you do next with this? Okay, you need to take this, and here's where I have a strong theory of thought. You should be doing this test every 2 weeks to a month to see how your results change over time. The ideal setup for anybody, doesn't matter which of the 5 archetypes you get, the ideal setup for anybody is that you get and end up on 2 archetypes. Now, when I first took this quiz, I was 2 archetypes, and I took the quiz like 5, 6, 7 times in a row. Okay. I always landed on the same exact results, no matter how many times I read it, no matter how many times I did it. To me, that tells me that that person is very sure of themselves. They're very stout, and they have done a ton of self-work and self-healing. So if you have gotten 3 or 4 results, like this person got 4 results here. If you have gotten 4 results, you should take this test and analyze yourself and try to understand the way in which you think until your results start to change, until you get down to 3 different archetypes and ultimately 2 archetypes. Because when you're at 2 archetypes, you truly know where your morals and your internal compass lies, and you are very stout and confirm the way you think on a regular basis without ever really flexing on who you are as a human being or the way in which you think of things. So it means that you're very well thought out and very sure of yourself, which should be the case with everybody. We're all on a path to make sure that we become better, more confident, able thinking human beings. And what that looks like is getting your test results down to 2. Now, if your test results are wildly changing from week to week when you do this test, it means you're not reading the questions closely enough, because these questions are designed to elicit very specific responses. You shouldn't be having one field of thought and then in 2 weeks have a completely different set of thoughts. It means you need to read the book, understand what Catherine Morgan Schaeffler talks about. Schaeffler, I'm not sure how you say her name. Schaeffler. You need to read the book, understand more about yourself, and stabilize your results first. So if your results are swinging all over the place week to week, it means you're at the very infancy stage of this. It means you need to just slow down, read the book, do some self-work, and keep doing this test week after week or every 2 weeks until your results are stable. Then once they're stable, then you can work on reducing the total amount of results you get. So I've seen people with all 5 archetypes. And those are the people who have imposter syndrome. They don't quite understand why they make mistakes when they do. Think about it. If you've got left brain crashing into right brain all the time because you're messy, intense procrastinator and classic, you are going to have imposter syndrome. You are simply not going to be sure of who you are, and your results will reflect that. You are going to doubt yourself while also not getting the results that you deserve. So this is a way in which we can start to curb that and look through and forward to conquering imposter syndrome, because there's a lot of people who deal with imposter syndrome. And if you Google imposter syndrome, let's just Google this together. The definition is when you doubt your own skills and success. You feel as if you are not as talented or as worthy as others believe, right? So that is what imposter syndrome is. Oh, was that on the screen there for us? Kind of, but that's okay. Anyways, I read it for us. And that's imposter syndrome, classic 101. And it should make sense why you doubt yourself, because you've got your left brain crashing into your right brain. You are from 2 different split mindsets, and you are all over the place. You have 4 different archetypes. You don't have clear thoughts, and you make mistakes because you are working against different fields of thought internally or externally. So this should make total sense and complete sense now as to why when we say, oh, I have imposter syndrome, where that comes from. That comes from not having a clear directive of who you are internally, because you haven't done the self-work and the self-awareness to diminish your results down and funnel them into a system where you're saying like, hey, I know who I am. These are my results, and that's it. Now, if you do this test and you just simply get the same 4 and 5 results, you are just of a hybrid personality type and a hybrid thinker. And you need to understand where your strengths and weaknesses lie in order to not have that imposter syndrome. So you can say, when my social battery is low, that's the Parisian part of me kicking in. When my procrastinator part is kicking in and I get indecisive in life, realize I'm procrastinating. And sometimes I need to push up on the intensity and just drill down on something instead of sitting here and trying to figure out and make a decision. So you might be sitting there, like in the case earlier where I made the fictional moment where my mother is a procrastinator, I'm intense. You may sit there as a procrastinator and say, okay, look, I just got to make a decision. Even if I'm uncomfortable with it, let me evolve myself and just make a decision. We're outside of my comfort zone. So I can still be a procrastinator, but it doesn't come at the cost of others. And it doesn't come at the cost of my own sacrifice, because what procrastinators struggle with is not laziness. They're not lazy people. They just struggle with making decisions. They like things to be perfect and they procrastinate at it. So that can be a strength and a weakness. The procrastinator is good in some scenarios, bad in others. So again, thank you for watching this video. I've done a lot of deep work with everybody. I hope everybody can use this to improve their own personal results and take mental analysis in a bit of a different way other than breathing exercises, because these forms of, hey, let's breathe better, let's clean our environment, they don't actually tackle what our mind thinks, the way we think, and how our mind can internalize and shift and massage and manipulate results. You might be a great chart analyst, but you may suck at taking trades. You may mark every level perfectly, but always lose money whenever you put money on the line. And this is why, because when emotions are in, when you paper trade, there's no emotions. Emotions start to change cortisol levels. They start to change adrenaline levels. They start to amplify and highlight your perfectionist profile, because when you're paper trading, there's no goals. And remember when I said perfectionist is another word for goal setting, right? You are not goal setting when there's no emotions on the line. But when there's emotions on the line, your goal setting gets altered, right? So I hope this video helped everybody. Again, feel free to reach out to me for mentorship if you need further help with this. And otherwise, keep practicing, read the book, and do your perfectionist test, and do it with your friends and family. Do it with your significant other. Do it with other people. Upgrade your own knowledge set so that you understand where your mind lies and where other minds lie. Anyways, until next time, cheers.